the Director of Operations Communications, Finance Director, Public Works Director, and the Assistant Public Works Director, which this program went to the Planning Commission, as it always does in May. And then we have a workshop, and it's presented to you all to consider in this workshop, and this will be on the July's agenda for approval along with the budget process. The CIP document format, in your books there's a table of contents, an introduction section that includes a cover letter, a resolution, revenue and expenditure forecast, the fund types, which, as I mentioned before, special revenue, general, water, wastewater, and then the budget review sheets and the requested projects. And now the revenue and expenditure forecast. Mr. Holt, would you please give us that?
Yeah, that's the pages right after it's in the first introductory section. The three revenue forecasts that we have in there are the CIP and the wastewater and then the water. And this is as we've done it in the past. We project revenue and expenditures, good estimates for the next 5 years. You can see the special revenue CIP fund, the taxes that funds that particular fund are the gross receipts tax. Oh, yeah.
Everybody got their place?
Yeah, not yet. What page, John?
You're about to start
It's
right after the
red tab,
red
just a
tab.
couple.
Yeah, it's the red tab and a couple after that. And it says at the
You're
top.
in the right place, Mark, go back.
I think.
Okay.
It'll say at the top, special revenue CIP fund at the top left. Just keep flipping there a little bit there. Right after that,
There we
Vice
go.
Mayor. There
Yes,
we
sir.
go.
I got a question, because you said that is for the next 5 years, it's 10,000 or more that has a life expectancy of 10 years. Is that our policy? Is that municipalities across the state? Because like when we do roads and stuff anymore, like right now, a lot of times they're not lasting 10 years.
Right.
We gotta do them every 7 years, so is
Yeah.
that,
I think it's
Do we need
our
to-
policy.
is it our,
Yes.
do we need to change that 10 years maybe?
I think that's something that we need to absolutely look at, because to your point, roads don't, especially in terrain that we have, don't last 10 years.
Big trucks, construction, I
Yes.
mean, they're digging them up, so I just wanted to, I
Yes,
just noticed that.
that's
I
excellent
thought I'd
point.
bring it up to
Yep.
see if we might want to change that 10 years to make it 7.
Well, and as we move forward, that's a good point, maybe next year before we do the process, we have a workshop or a committee to talk about some things to revise our guidelines for it.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that too today, just because
Yes.
$10,000 is not what $10,000 used to be
No.
either, so.
Yes.
I mean, that,
$10,000
yeah, that's
milk.
sneeze, yeah.
Right.
so.
Couple of
Yeah,
days.
and the gas fill up. So that is the special revenue CIP fund, which is the fund that is, the revenue streams that go into there are a portion of our gross receipts tax. And then restaurant tax goes in there in total, amusement tax goes in there in total. And of course, half of the amusement tax is transferred out to the CVB. But you can see there we have the estimate. These were done as of April 30, as we do every year, when we put this together, and to kind of see where we expect to end up this year. Of course, you have interest income there too, and the last remaining undergrounding funds. So when we do we have phase 6, some of that's left in that. That's where that goes in there too. By the way, that'll be up in total in 2026. But you can see through 25 through 29. That it's pretty steady of what we estimate that's available, that will be available for capital projects, anywhere roughly between 7 million and 7.5 million, and that's pretty standard. It's kind of what we ended up with based on last year's budget. Was a little bit less than that. Of course, we budgeted a little bit conservatively. So that's the special revenue CIP fund. That's where we transfer money to the capital projects accounts, and also to fund any matching grants we usually fund out of the special revenue CIP fund. The next projection is the wastewater or the sewer fund, and there's a lot going on there this year because we have a rate increase that took effect in January 2024. There'll be another one that takes effect in 2025, and we have in here, and so because we have the revenue in there, that's why you see that jump from the estimate for April 30th, 24 to the next year, because that rate increase will still, it won't take full effect until 2026 because we're on a fiscal year. But we also have in there the payment for the debt that we just issued, and the estimated payment for an additional $5 million that we potentially could issue before December 31st for some other projects we've already talked about. So that's the wastewater funds. You can see the estimated amount there that we available for projects is about 1.2 million. It goes down a little bit each year because we project that its expenses will increase, obviously. The water fund is the next one, and we did rate increases to water and sewer, so we have the same phenomenon going on there, and we expect to have available after debt payments and other expenditures next year about 1.2 million, and the same thing next year, and goes down to about 800,000 in 2029 based on what we see as current projections. So that is projections for the next 5 years based on where we're at right now. And of course things could change, but that should give us a good estimate of what the future holds as far as available revenue. And then the next section, and each one of these sections will have what's called the budget review sheets. But we have been doing this, and I'm going to pass these out, but we usually give these to you at the commission meeting. But that's basically just an update of the projects that are presently have activity. So you can look through these just to see if there's any questions. But it has, the funding and the amount expended and the amount that we expect to expend. And all of these are either covered by the original budget, or we were able to make sure transfer money to these as needed from savings from other projects. But that's basically a less colorful rendition of this active CIP project. So that's and those are in each section. So you can, as far as the CIP, the water and the sewer, and then the CIP as well.
Why some of these are in yellow? Was there a reason for why these being?
Those are just new updates.
That's just the new updates
Yeah.
in yellow?
Okay.
We ask our department heads each week for an update and try to denote what's been updated that week.
Yeah, just to make sure nothing's forgotten.
When will bids show up for the new product facility?
Well, right now we have the RFQ is due next Tuesday, and to choose the contractor or whatever, and then we'll go through the bid process after that. But I know we've got some interest in that, and I checked on a couple of checked on those solicitations today. So we'll know more after Tuesday.
And if I could, Mayor, just interject with that. What we're hoping is when they come in Tuesday, then we're going to evaluate them, talk to the contractor we believe who has the best rate for us.
Mhm.
Then in July, come back with a recommendation on the agenda for you all to recommend through the building authority to do as a construction manager concept again.
Yeah, as we've done with the aquarium and the convention center.
Yes, so
that type of thing.
we're hoping by the end of July, then the process is complete and we have a contractor on board by 1st of August to hopefully then, get started by September-ish,
Yeah,
somewhere in there.
That'd be great. That's the idea.
Yes.
Anyway. Now we get into the most important part of this meeting, nothing all that important, is the actual, what we're actually requesting for this year, and Seth will go through some of the departments and with input from the appropriate department heads.
All right, thank you.
One question before you get started,
Okay.
Seth. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
This, the capital improvements on the aquarium parking garage. We're in the process of doing that now, is that not right?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
We're in the process, and Monday at the workshop, we will talk about that. We actually went with Cindy Simpson, Seth and I took her on a field trip Monday and went over and looked at that, Mark, and we're almost down to the punch list. Elevators are working now, and it really looks fantastic.
Looks great.
Yes.
So I think your first tab is golf in here today.
Yeah, so the special revenue fund, we had 4 different departments make requests this year, and that was golf, recreation, mass transit, and building maintenance. And so each of those departments have requests in that. I've got a summary sheet of all the requests out of the special revenue fund on the screen, but in your book, they're broken down by departments. And so in golf, we have 2 projects requesting funding this year. The number one is the river pump replacement, and then a golf maintenance storage building. Golf has 3 other requests, but those are for 25, 26, and 26, 27. looking at recreation, they have 3 projects requesting funding, and those are all in the FY 24-25 budget, that being the Minot Park playground replacement, the community center pool improvements, and replacement of bleachers at Bud Park and Field over at Mills Park. It's also known as Field
Mark's
6.
got too much time.
Lauren, yeah, he wants to be a
Comes up
contractor.
and stuff.
Yes.
I just got back from Scotland.
Question,
And-
question on the golf.
Uh-huh.
When you're going out here, you've got cart path and you're going out to 26, 27. Are you doing that on today's figures, or are you estimated with increases? I mean, when you pick out $1 million, just throw out a number.
Sure.
4 or 5 years, how are you determining that number?
Roger and Larry got a price, and it was like around 800,000.
And they add-
And then we added, like, we use a rule of thumb of 30% almost when we try to go into a couple of year process. And the reason it's out there is there's some more infrastructure there, some bunker repairs, and we didn't want to do those bunker repairs and then go up and tear the asphalt up again. So there's some bunker stuff that's coming next year.
And our current, how much did we spend on that new pavilion up there? And it's not, and they're paying us $500 a day since April 7th, and they're still not done with it?
That's correct, and I just talked to the right before we came in here, and hopefully within the next 2.5 weeks, he's gonna be completed.
I mean, $500 a day?
Yes.
And it, since April?
Yep.
Who's
And he,
doing it?
Who's the
Timber
GC?
Ridge.
Timber Ridge, and he's had a foreman quit, and he's had some difficulties, but I would say that he's done a really good job, and Mike Smelser's been up there multiple times a week ensuring that what they're doing is what they're supposed to be, and I think y'all will be proud once he gets finished with
Well, we definitely got a good break on
it. Yeah,
that. So it's a little bit
Yeah.
cost.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And if I could, I don't know if this is the right time, if you want me just, I'll talk about a few things here. River pump replacement. So what we do is we pump out of the Little Pigeon River there below where the,
Condo is.
yeah, what's the name of the, Riverstone. Riverstone. So we have a pump in place, which is very old, that we pump up into that pond, if y'all know where 18 is. So it pumps the water up there during the day and puts water, and then we pump out of that pond to irrigate the golf course. So our pump is getting old, and if the pump goes down, then they tell us anywhere from 3 weeks to get a new pump. You know how it is, time you order it. So we feel like we better, based upon age, get a pump in there, we lose the golf course in the event of. So this is a pump, additional pump, so we'll have a backup pump. So we'll probably start using the new pump and use the old pump for backup. So that's what that one is. And then the storage building, I think those storage buildings, which look like those shacks that we used to hang tobacco in back in the day, was built when the golf course was built in 1955. They've been there for some time. So this is to put a new building in, metal building there, to be able to put some of their equipment in. And then, let's see, oh yeah, there's the bunker renovation. So the bunker renovation we wanted that to happen. We haven't had any renovations to our bunkers. They're giving us some problem with drainage before, to your point, Chad, the new cart paths go in. And then we have back nine restrooms. Currently, we don't have any electricity to the back nine restrooms back there, and then we have to get it pumped. So we're planning on building a restroom, if y'all know where 15 is. Mark, you know where 15 is. That way when people come around right there, that we can get power and water and sewer to that and actually put in so we have a good working restroom with power. We can keep heat on to keep it from freezing and things like that. That's been needed. So those were the justifications for those requesting golf. And then playground equipment, Lawrence applied for a grant, as you can see there. He got, what is that?
It's
Set my eyes or something?
96,655 in funding.
Yes.
TRPA grant.
Yes, so actually that 600 would be minus 96,655, is that correct?
Yeah, a little bit over 5.
So he applied and got that grant, and that's to replace it there at Minot Park because it's got some age on it there. And then the community center pool improvements, that's been improvements that's needing to be done for quite some time. It's got the old style of how the little aluminum looking tray comes out, how the water filters in, so I think it's replacing all that kind of stuff. And then the bleachers, as you all know, those old bleachers have been up there, those concrete, for some time, and we're going to be able to leave them in place because they're okay where they are, and then put those new aluminum bleachers, just like we put over at Field 7, lay right on them. But the Little League does not have a place for the cheerleaders to cheer. As you all know, down there, they used to have an old wooden one that rotted out. The visitor didn't have one, and this one allows for a cheerleading deck to go all the way across in the front, and then this would just lay over the top of those concrete bleachers. So that's the bleachers. And then Robert talked to him about how we are doing this. 2.5 million of this mass transit comes out of the CIP, and then the other 2.5 is coming out of mass transit parking 419 fund. So it's a
Yeah.
total of a $5 million project.
Yeah, that's what we talked about I think the last meeting, y'all approved that, and so there's the parking mass transit fund is very, very healthy, and since this is related to them, instead of issuing debt, we've got 2.5 million easily can come out of both of those funds, the CIP fund and the mass transit parking fund. So that's why you only see 2.5 coming out of the CIP fund, because we're going to put the other 2.5 from the mass transit parking fund. So for a total of 5 million, which right now is the estimated cost of that project. But
And then lastly, the spur park and ride lot lighting. This
Is
is
that down there next to the?
Welcome Center on the spur. The parking lot down there that's on the incline behind the,
It's the mass transit,
it's down here.
Oh,
It's
it's-
part of this. It's
part of the-
adjacent to this project we have
where
going
the
on.
tourists used to be.
yeah, beside Trish, that's where the
Yeah.
master, where you can see the green grass and
Right.
it's all on subgrade, is that right, Larry? So, the mass transit right now? Okay. And then the spur park and ride, that's behind the Welcome Center on the spur, that parking lot. That lighting has been the initial lighting when the parking lot was built in Melbourne.
It's giving us a lot of trouble.
It says it's just, he's having to work on it constantly, and it's just time for new wires, new lights.
Hard to find replacements.
Yeah, can't find replacements and
That
things.
upgrade to LED lights.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, there's descriptions of all those things that we do too.
Then in the general fund, unless y'all have any questions about anything special revenue first. In the general fund, we have 3 different departments.
That's the orange tab in
Yeah.
your book there.
2 departments making requests and some non-departmental requests that are kind of out in the, it can be different items. We've got building maintenance, non-departmental, and sanitation with requests in this fund.
If you'll flip your building maintenance tab, let's go to the building maintenance tab right there.
So you've got
Oh,
budget
yeah,
review
okay,
sheets.
right here. Right.
Yeah, we don't need you don't need the budget review sheets, because that's just active projects that we've been updating. It'll be page 34. Page 34 is what you need to turn to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, just flip that building maintenance tab. You should be there.
Page 34.
Yeah.
And how they're in the book, they're by individually, papers in your book. Seth has put all of them that's in the general fund on the screen, so you can see them all in one spot on the screen.
Yes,
Tab?
yes.
Yeah.
Page 34.
Should
It
have,
says 19 to 20. So,
Well, we're in the general fund.
I thought you said building maintenance. Gotcha.
yeah, under the orange tab. Yeah.
Under the general fund.
Gotcha. Okay.
Should be page 34.
Yeah.
It is.
And the request out of building maintenance, out of general fund, is a replacement of the HVAC unit for the City Hall complex at $175,000. And I think, Larry, would be the first time that's in your place.
I'm not really sure.
It's
I think
it's
been
17
replaced
years
one
old.
time.
It's been replaced.
Pretty
once.
good.
I was gonna say, it's working good. Working good. So definitely don't need any extra Freon.
And I think it's a parts issue too, and maintenance issue.
Sure, I mean,
Yeah.
that's stuff.
Building and planning we have.
Then, one of our non-departmental requests is a centralized camera system, which would provide cameras throughout the city. Is that correct, Greg?
Yes, it would be, and we have, I guess, about 3 different camera systems now. And as we all know how the world is with cameras and how we're getting them out there, we're able to see accidents happen, vandalism, and, all sorts of things. So we feel like it's been a recommendation by our IT team that we go to a centralized system with its camera, and it's very high-tech kind of thing, so we feel like that we need
Who's gonna
to.
do that job for us?
Do you remember the name of that?
We've used Datacom cabling for a lot of them so far. We buy the cameras, and I think it starts with a V, Verdata or something like that, we have somebody else install them.
I just know Carl Giesen was asking me a couple weeks ago, and he's doing security and stuff like that, and asked if he could get some quotes or something. I don't know if we could do anything.
Well, we'll
Since he's
probably get to that
yeah.
point, yeah, we'll get to that
Oh,
point.
yeah, we'll
where
have to
we-
bid this.
It'll be a bid project.
Yeah.
So he said something the other day to me, if there's anything going on, and
Okay.
just when you said that,
Sure.
that's what he does.
Yeah.
I'll make a note of that, Chad.
Yeah, since he's a local guy.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
I graduated with him. He's a good one. Where did his son end up going to play football somewhere?
I talked to Carlton yesterday.
Okay.
He's not.
He's not?
No.
He's a great
He just
kicker.
decided
He was.
he didn't need to, and Carson Newman wasn't gonna give him
Okay.
an assurance of how much he can get, so he's going to UT, and he's just going to UT.
I'm just going to school.
Giving up.
Yeah.
So, athletics.
Yeah.
The next request out of general fund is the Public Safety Building Addition, which is the new building between this complex and the fire department. And Robert, do you want to explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, and that's of course, that was in last year, I think, at 8 million. That's still kind of in the planning stages. We have some money set aside for professional services that we're still getting design and things like that done. And so that number may be updated, but that will most likely be a debt issue that we talk about after the first of the year, probably at mid-year review. We'll know more by then.
And we're quite a ways into design phase, so during the budget process on July the 11th, we should have something for you all to take a look at what Kelly's done
Make sure
on
the
design.
concept is-
Yeah.
And then the final request out of general fund is from the sanitation department for a maintenance garage, which will be located at the sanitation department down next to the wastewater treatment plant, and that's for the purpose of the dumpster maintenance program, and they would have somewhere to work on those dumpsters. And
Currently, if we bring a dumpster in, we don't have anywhere climate controlled or even anywhere to take the dumpster in, do welding and repairs. So this is last year y'all funded a full-time position to fully maintenance all the dumpsters, and he's been putting them out. And by the way, we are ahead of schedule, and I think we have about 40 more dumpsters.
Got a little over 40 more dumpsters to go.
So we thought it'd take through the rest of this calendar year, so we feel like hopefully in the next, would you think, Larry?
It depends on
Couple
delivery.
months.
We've got 40 more dumpsters coming in.
Okay. So anyway, this is to put a building down there, there's a place to put it, that he can bring those dumpsters back and do repair, paint them, work on them, welding, things like that.
Have we had any more discussion on the residential dumpsters?
I don't think so.
Because remember, we met with that guy from President Village. They were having a real issue with that, was just finding somebody that could work on it. That's almost impossible.
Yeah, I think that was the issue, was finding the supplier.
A lot of the latches don't work, and the bears are very proficient in getting inside them and making a mess, so. We have to just
Well,
keep
well,
that,
and Monday would be a good time to
discuss that.
discuss that, so we'll make a note of that.
those are the 4 projects out of the general fund. Any questions, or be happy to answer those. Next, we'll go to the water fund, and Dale, at this point, you'll have your budget review sheets, but I would go ahead and, Dale, if you've got any, go ahead and throw those projects on the screen. And Dale has requested 4 projects.
I think that'll be on page 45 for being as far as what
Okay. Dale has requested 4 projects to be funded in the 24-25 budget.
You want to go through those?
Yes.
And just give an overview of those?
So you may notice we're introducing a new project here at the top, water treatment plant expansion. We have completed some preliminary analysis and engineering work there. We've realized that we can expand production of our water plant up to about 3 million gallons a day from the current 2 million gallons a day. Now, this is the drinking water plant up on Ski Mountain Road. So this at 4.35 million would provide an expansion with all new equipment and be able to, with the ability to increase the capacity of our production to up to 3 million gallons a day. This is a very important project for the city because, as you know, we continue to buy water from the city of Pigeon Forge. That's our only other water supply. Our water plant has been limited to 2 million gallons a day production. This 50% increase at the water plant will be almost a game changer for Gatlinburg. It'll put a lot more control in our hands, and it'll replace the equipment with new state-of-the-art technology. And I'm very excited about that. So that's the first project, water treatment plant expansion. That would be an expansion within the structure itself. Within the building, we can increase the capacity within the same footprint of the building, kind of like we've done at the wastewater plant, utilizing newer technology and advanced technology. So that's that project. We're still in the preliminary phases of that, but you'll be hearing more about that as we go along. The next project on this list for current year is a Ski Mountain #1 pump station improvements. This is a water pump booster station to the base of Ski Mountain Road right there at Cook Drive. This is the original 1970-something station. This simply replaces all the pumps, motors, electrical, and electrical control equipment at $85,000 inside that structure. This would be pretty much in-house. We'll be doing this kind of work ourselves. We have converted a number of our water booster stations in this same fashion. So the pumps, motors, and equipment we're putting in have about a 20-plus year lifespan to it. So, and again, it's a more efficient technology. The next project here, the next two, AC pipe replacement and 2-inch galvanized pipe replacement. And you're probably aware or recall that every year we look to identify areas of existing older water mains that need to be replaced. And every water system does this. This is a part of replacing aging infrastructure, which we all have to do. So we've identified two areas here for this year in AC pipe replacement would be Loop Road, I'm calling it the lower end of Loop Road, which would be from Roaring Fork up to I think it's Spring Drive or Forest Spring Drive. There's a section in there. This is the old concrete asbestos concrete pipe, and we're systematically identifying areas to replace. This is an area we'd like to replace this next year. And the next location there, 2-inch galvanized pipe replacement. We have 2-inch galvanized pipe all over town. It was a way to do small diameter water mains back 40, 50, 60 years ago, and we have to systematically replace those also. So the areas we're looking at here and 2-inch galvanized pipe replacement would be Hayden Circle up off of Ski Mountain, in the Ski Mountain area. We've had a number of water main breaks there. This is small diameter pipe, it's 2-inch galvanized, but it's very brittle and it keeps rusting and coming apart. So we need to replace this because every time we have a break and have a leak, we have to dig up the road to repair it, to repair the break, and then we patch the road, and then the road's rough. So we need to replace this water line. And the other location in this 2-inch galvanized pipe replacement area is on Hilltop Road. It's actually a section, if you go up past Roaring Fork Baptist Church on Church Street, it turns to Hilltop, right there about where Bud Franklin's house is. We keep having water breaks right there also, right in the middle of the road. So this allocation, $150,000, would completely replace both of those sections of pipe. So that's what we're looking at here.
What are you replacing them with?
We're typically putting in ductile iron pipe, larger diameter ductile iron pipe if we need the flow, because we can put fire hydrants on those. You see, on the 6-inch pipe, it's typically a ductile iron pipe. If it's in a smaller area where we don't need the larger pipe in the flow, we'll use 2-inch PVC. But both of these areas would be 6-inch ductile iron pipe. And that's the 4 projects that we're looking at for this year. And of course, there's others that we project on out through the years.
And so now we go to wastewater, and similar type setup there, Dale, if you want to, you have two projects for FY 24, 25, if you'd like to.
Yes,
go those.
sure. The top two priorities here in wastewater fund for this year, the Newman Road Sewer Lift Station
By
is
the way,
an,
it's on page 66.
thank you. Is an existing sewer lift station that is right there on Newman Road. It's on our Public Works complex. It's right behind the Utilities Maintenance Building. This takes wastewater flow from the east side of town and pumps it up and over Ridge Road bypass, no, it's Dudley Creek bypass, down Dudley Creek bypass. And this station is giving us fits right now. We can't keep the pumps running. The motors are overheating and shutting off, and we're having to use bypass pumps. So this will completely replace all of the pumps, motors, electrical components, put in some safety mechanisms in this particular lift station. And it's right behind the Utilities Maintenance Building. You really don't see it because it's all underground. So this would completely rework that. We're doing a little bit of value analysis on this, and probably this project will come in quite a bit less than this. But that's what this project is. And the Shieldsview Drive sewer extension, it would be an extension of the public sewer all the way up Shieldsview Drive from the intersection at Palmer Road right now, there where the ship location is or used to be. It'll go all the way to the top of the hill at Shieldsview Drive. Shieldsview is unsewered. There is not public sewer there. So all the homes are on septic tanks and private field lines. And we feel like this would be a good location to extend public sewer. We've had a handful of the residents that have inquired and asked about it. So this is a location that we have identified to extend public sewer, would be a good location to extend public sewer. Also, I think, Larry, this has been on the, Shieldsview Drive has been on the paving list for a year or two.
It has.
And so you see what we're trying to do is say, hey, let's identify, if we're gonna put sewer up that road, let's go ahead and do it before we pave it. But the road needs to be paved, but we'd really like to get the sewer in there, so.
Would that be
that's-
gravity or force main?
It will be gravity, yes. And there's a little side road off the left too, it's called Maples
Lane.
Maples Lane.
Drive, Maples Lane, something like that.
Yeah, Maples Drive, maybe Maples Drive. That's a little short dead-end side road. We would extend sewer up there also, yes. Yeah, so those are the two projects that we're looking at for this year.
I just have a quick question, which I do not know where this is at. Where is Perry Drive? I saw
Perry
that in-
Drive
Yeah,
is over, take the bypass over the loop, and then it's off of the back side before you get back down to Baskin's Creek. If you come up Loop Road,
Oh,
go
it's on
up
Loop
and
Road,
over,
okay.
and at the top, there's like a freeway intersection there, and it's kind of like a tough
so it's
zone.
at the top of like Roar, up above Wood Drive.
Yeah, it's before you come back down, like,
Yeah.
Never did any
Fun
more.
route.
A little known road up
Yeah.
here.
Yeah,
Very
it's
much.
at Perry Drive on there, as a new water tank.
We have a water tank.
restoration.
there is a tank up there, and it's concrete, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just in the capital improvements,
Yeah.
2 or 3 years down the road or something.
Yeah.
To do.
Any questions? Other questions?
Maples Road.
So that's all we have, unless y'all have any questions, and certainly y'all have time.
Yeah.
You know, we're having a workshop on Monday, and then this doesn't go until July. So certainly take this, look over it, let us know, you know, if there's anything that you might want to change.
I think the water tank over there off Old Cartertown Road, near where I live, at the very top up there, I thought it was running low and needed, I didn't see it in there anywhere to be restored. Is it not- is it
Let's see,
big?
did we put that in last year, the new water tank on the north end above where we bought from Mitch, that new tank? Is that what you're talking about?
Off of Old Cartertown Road, between Gatlinburg Falls, it funds
Okay.
Gatlinburg Falls up there above our house, where I live, and I just thought there was issues.
We are
there.
still looking at that area right there. We're doing some preliminary engineering work on that, still looking at that area.
Yeah, that area has been, as you mentioned.
There's a lot of
we've been
growth.
talking-
There's
Yeah,
been
a lot of growth.
It's
over the
just-
years.
And
Yes.
they're still building houses up through there right
Yeah.
now. I mean,
Yes.
awesome, so. Just wanna-
Curious, Dale, the expansion of the water facility renovation, does the state allow us to increase it, or I'm just wondering, because sometimes you see a bunch of rocks and sometimes you don't, so I'm just kind of curious.
Very good question, very perceptive. Thank you, Jay. We have actually vetted that out, yes, and we have found out through our work with our consulting engineering firm that the state is, they actually have approved our withdrawal request. So we have gone to the state with that request right there.
Right.
And we have a written permit that will allow us to withdraw a certain amount of water that will allow us to increase our production at the water plant. So yes.
If we run into the drought stuff again and it dries up a little bit, is that gonna be an issue? Can they just pull our permit to pull water, or is it gonna be a litigation thing?
So there are low flow conditions, drought management conditions that is in that permit, yes. And we will be updating our drought management plan, which is in the water system emergency operations plan and city's emergency operations plan, per TDEC's requirement, actually. It's hard to say request, it's a requirement, that when and if the water level in the river reaches a certain low flow level, then we've got to be doing some water conservation and curtailing activities. And we can still withdraw water up to a certain point, but they do have, for a protection standpoint, they do have a minimum level where the permit document says we have to either stop withdrawing or mitigate the withdrawal. So we're still working through that, the tenets of that. And we feel pretty confident that we still scored very big to be able to expand and produce 3 million gallons.
Yeah. That's
And
what I
we just,
Even with that.
we just got the TDEC permit, I think, last week or so.
Yeah.
So we've been super excited about
Yes.
this and telling you guys about the news. So now we have applied to TVA to get approval for them. So that's sort of the last step, I guess, isn't it, Dale,
It
for
is,
permits?
at this point, yes. Surprisingly, we have to have TVA approval.
I know.
Yeah,
Trust
because
me, I remember.
That's-
Some of that crap.
that's exactly right. So that's in the process right now. But this is very good news.
This is a
for
game
us.
changer.
For sure.
Yeah.
It is big.
Because and look at it this way, the water plant was built in 1947,
Yeah.
and we've been withdrawing roughly 2 million gallons a day since 1947, and we're going to expand that capacity by 50%.
Yeah, that's a lot.
How far down the road does that take us?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't stop us from having to have other outside sources, but
I just
Yes,
don't
this is
want
a
to,
game
I
changer,
don't want us
yeah.
to spend all this money and then the state say, nah, you can't do it.
They
Shut it off.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had to make sure that we
Yeah.
could do it, and we have the permit document in hand that gives us permission to do
But
it.
I figured you did. I
Yeah.
was just kind of curious because I know I'm going to get that question too.
Yeah, so.
Okay.
And we're excited about the technology that we'll talk to you all about later on. This is very interesting, exciting new technology that's available in the water production field. It itself is a game changer, so we're right on the edge of the best available technology.
We tell them we take it out of here at the top and then put it back in down here at the bottom. I mean, it's kind of like
That's
a
right.
wash.
Yeah.
Good job. Thank you.
Yeah, we're good to go.
All right, does anybody else have any other questions about the CIP? If not, Mr. Henderson, you want to give us the paving report here?
She probably called it.
I was going to say she can highlight it for us. That's all. Sir?
Okay, I can give you the short version or the long version, whichever one you like. But this is our proposed paving program for fiscal year 24-25. If you look, that's the cover page. This just tells a little bit about the software used and the points it's taken. It's the software used has a inventories the road system and the conditions of the surveys, and also it gives a priority analysis and also prepares a budget for planning purposes. If you look at the next page, there's a graph in here shows a road decline curve. If you look at the graph, you can see basically after about 10 years to 15 years, all the way to 20, the condition of the road will take a deep dive. That's, 10 years, that's when you need to start consider repaving the road. The next is a bar chart graph, basically on the condition of our roads as they exist today. We're about 3 pages back. You see this? Mm-hmm. Okay. About 60 plus miles of our roads, 62, 63 miles of our roads are in good shape in comparison to what they were, a few years ago. I looked at some of the old bar charts from about even 5 years back, and the bars in the red on rehabilitate and reconstruct were up in here, and the roads were down, the good roads were about down to here midway. So we've come a long way in about 5 years. If you turn to the tab, it says summary of the 5 years paving program.
Larry, what do you account for that to happen?
Pardon?
What do you account for that improvement?
This is what's going to tell you right here,
Okay.
summary of the 5 years paving program. In the last 5 years, we've paved 47.54 miles of road, which is a little over half.
90-some, so it's half, almost half.
It's half. We've got 93.2 miles of road inventoried in the city of Gatlinburg. And the money that we've spent totals up to $5,914,877.
Sorry.
So,
Over the full 5 years?
over 5 years, the last 5 years. And this is the backup information on the fiscal years on the different budgets. And if you, 2 years that really come into play are the FY 19-20. In that year, we paved 14.32 miles of road. And in FY 18-19, we paved 16.8 miles of road. So that was a big chunk of those roads. If you turn to the next tab, it says status of roads FY 23-24. The first page on here, we've still got a few dangling roads in fiscal year 22-23, and they're there for the reason for utility replacement, water line replacement. We've got 5 roads, which is Reagan Drive, of course, for that sewer line, and then Shields View, which Dale just spoke about. And Sunset Drive, there's some development going on up there. And then we've got a water line project proposed for Topside.
Yes.
Yeah, Topside Road and Topside Drive. So we've held off on those 5 roads, which totals out to 1.61 roads, and we've got the money earmarked or already PO'd for those roads. The next page is the resurface roads FY 23-24. Those were the roads in last year's budget. We've had those roads completed. It was a short list, but we do have those completed. As far as the proposed paving FY 24-25, this is what's being proposed for this upcoming year. And it's the next page. We've got 3.85 miles of road proposed to be paved at an estimated cost of $634,692. We did put a 10% contingency in there this year because the rising price of asphalt has really killed us. Remember, if you remember last year, we had to come back and ask for more money to complete roads. And
So in 22-23 is about $100,000 per mile to pay?
22-23.
And it's up to about $150,000 to $150,000 per mile? Based on
Well,
the
you've got
1.61?
the roads that we paved were narrow roads, these sections were, so,
Still, it's
yeah,
just-
it's
it's
still,
expensive.
yeah, it's expensive. I mean, asphalt went from $70-something a ton to $105 a ton. So it's in the last 4 or 5 years, that increase in price has really killed us, so, that's where we're at, but.
This proposed paving program, 24-25, that's starting now, or is it? when
It will happen after the budget passes.
Okay, it's starting in July.
It would,
August or whenever the budget passes.
Well, it'll be around first of September.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
There's some striping on Glades Road that doesn't have any striping down through there in a certain area.
They restriped
They
it
did recently?
yes.
Because I was like a few weeks ago that it wasn't there right before.
Yeah, well, it's there now.
It is there now?
It is there now.
Okay. It's been like that for a while, and I just wanted to bring it up so it hasn't been done.
We typically do the striping in the spring. It's,
Right there, pretty good to the Hero Subs.
Yeah,
and all
exactly.
that stuff right there.
yeah, that's been restriped.
Okay.
And if you want to look at the long-term paving history, that's the next tab, and that information goes all the way back to 1990 something, if I remember correctly, 1990, 91 budget year, so. And the important thing about this, if you go back about 10 to 15 years, that's when the next cycle is going to start, so you can get a good idea of what road you're going to have to pave from this paving history in the future. Then the last thing we have is the road inventory. Gives a little bit of information about when it was last inspected. We do those on an annual basis. And that's where we get the total of our roads. The 92.2 miles of roads. Are there any questions or any roads that need to be considered for paving that I'm not aware of? Or
Looks good.
He's already done that.
what's that?
We already did Campbell.
We did, yes, sir.
I thought they didn't know if you were coming
The
on.
birds are the
Construction's
bears.
still going on.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, smoother walk,
Not since we inspected it last, let's put it that way.
Yeah.
He's actually done a really good job up there on the project. Of course, keeping it clean and.
All right. Good job. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Larry.
Thank you, sir.
Does anybody else have any questions concerning the paving program or the CIP before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Nope.
It's all on you.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. We are adjourned.
Avid fans know that golfing isn't just a sport, it's a way of life. While in Gatlinburg and the Smokies, indulge in your favorite pastime at the area's most uniquely designed golf course. From the challenging layout and emerald fairways to beautifully wooded landscapes and well-manicured greens, you'll remember this picturesque setting in the heart of the Great Smoky Mountains. The Gatlinburg course provides unique golfing excitement in a spectacular mountain setting. It's open year-round with modern facilities, fully equipped pro shop, and food service area. This beautiful 18-hole golf course was designed by noted golf course architect William Langford in 1993. The course offers well-seasoned golfers, as well as the beginner, a challenge on every hole, while its scenic beauty is unsurpassed. The course has been acclaimed as one of the most picturesque courses in America, with breathtaking views of the Great Smoky Mountains. Located just 5 miles from downtown Gatlinburg, the course lies adjacent to Dollywood. Convention and group outings are welcome. Call us. We'll have a tea time waiting for you.
For over 60 years, Wiley Oakley roamed the Smoky Mountains. He was a mountain guide with the soul of a poet, and when the Smokies gained worldwide acclaim, so did Wiley Oakley. He counted among his friends the likes of President Franklin Roosevelt and Mr. and Mrs. Henry Ford. But for all his fame, it was his captivating genius for storytelling that comes to mind when we remember this homespun philosopher of the Smokies. One of Wiley Oakley's favorite stories, The Cow Barn, was recorded in 1949.
But anyway, we decided on our honeymoon to go way back in the mountain to Scratch Britches Mountain. About an acre cleared, and always right back among the bears, bobcats, and so forth. And just the one trail. So we managed to move, and I had to carry in our things, the last parts. Call over logs to get to the cabin. But anyway, we'd been there, and my dad would teach me how to find these wild bee trees. He'd give us some honey, because he had plenty at home. And of course, now we was on our honeymoon, you know, and so we just had honey and more honey. But after about 3 or 4 weeks or a month or so, I don't really know just how long, but anyway, she said something to me that didn't sound very good, and I said, if you're going to talk that way to me, I'll just get my hat and I'll go to Dad down in Gatlinburg, and you can go wherever you want to. So I started out the door, I looked back, and she sort of smiled and said, you ought to give me a lock of your hair before you leave me up in these wild mountains. So it made me a little madder, and I decided I'd go right on. I went on, I had to go by a cow barn. I decided to go down there. Well, that's a mighty few words to leave this girl up here in the mountain. Maybe better see her out. So I decided maybe I'd just fall in behind this barn and hide, and then I'd hear her coming directly. Everything was quiet, still, and I waited for half an hour and on up to, well, you might say something like an hour, and I was getting tired, and I decided I'd walk around and peep around the corner and see if she was making any effort to come out. And when I looked around, why, she had her head stuck out the door and said, I guess you better come back. And I said, well, I don't care if I do. I was just waiting for her to call me. So I went back, and I've been with her ever since. So these young people, when they get married, they shouldn't never pass up the cow barn. If they ain't got a barn, well, it might pay them to build one.